Welcome back to the channel. This is Wes, and I hope you all are having a good day. Today we're going to do a quick review of Justice League Dark number 7. So when this series first released, I was really happy. I thought it started out excellent. Then it kind of slowed down on the Witching Hour crossover with Wonder Woman. I thought it got kind of boring. And before this, they just finished up a depressed chimp story arc that I didn't think was all that great. And I thought it lost a little momentum with the depressed chimp story arc before this, but it seems to have turned around a little bit with this issue. I like this issue a lot. It's pretty good. So starting off with the cover, it's pretty cool. Got a lot of the characters and some of the monsters from the stories here. So this issue had a couple things going against it for me as a reader. I tend to like comics that read briskly, that are kind of fast-paced, but I didn't find this book particularly to be fast-paced at all. And I also really don't like anthologies. I don't like anthologies really at all. But this one's not too bad. So the cover here is pretty cool. It's done by the interior artist. Writing this story is James Tynion IV. On the art is Alvaro Martinez, as well as Raul Fernandez and Brad Anderson on colors. So the art team has been really awesome. That's probably been the highlight of the whole series so far. That's been a lot because of the really cool layouts that they've done that have been really imaginative, especially with Swamp Thing. Unfortunately, because this is an anthology, they don't get a lot of time to work and do anything real cool, so it kind of... The art, while still really good, isn't quite as good as it has been in the past. So this book is basically an homage to Tales from the Crypt. And your Crypt Keeper, in this case, is Man-Bat. And he's talking to you and he's telling you that he's been having all these bad dreams and he can't hardly sleep. He's been documenting the tales of the Otherkind, the creatures that have come to the realm of Earth since the earlier events in the book. And the first story he goes into is called The Soup. And it starts out, you have this guy going to like a demon brothel called the Morning Star. He's talking to the hostess here, letting her know that he was sent here by a client and that he could have whatever his heart desired. And she's assuring him, of course, that that's allowed. You see this reveal, she has like 7 or 8 eyeballs. It's really cool design. And then here on the top panels, you can kind of see what I was talking about with like a demon brothel. You see all these clients with these demons getting tortured and doing all kind of matters of weird weird things for their own gratification, as Zatanna is talking to the First of the Fallen, who I believe is a classic Constantine villain. He's a demon, very powerful demon. And they're talking about how he shouldn't have this open and she wants him to shut it down. And he gives her an offer to join up with his business. And then at the bottom you see there's like a shadow and we get introduced to the Soup. He's kind of reminiscent of Glob from X-Men. You can see he's like a standing sack of organs that are floating around in his body. And he's got the hostess held up by the head, and she's explaining that she tried to stop him, but he just kept moving. And then he squashes her head, and then you see the First of the Fallen sends Zatanna out using some magic, and needless to say that the brothel is no longer in existence. So the second story is called Conjoin. This is easily the worst of the 3 stories that they tell in the stories of the Otherkind. And it starts out with vampire Andrew Bennett, and he's talking about how he's been hunting Mary, Queen of Blood, across the globe. And he's standing looking down at a cemetery. So eventually he ends up talking to Swamp Thing and Detective Chimp, who explain to him that there's a great evil that's in a crypt there that this guy is actually coming to see. And they tell him to stay away. They're going to burn it down so no one can ever see it. But he does not heed their warning. And what he ends up seeing is this weird monster with... It looks like one standing figure with 2 faces that's conjoined all these other demons or monsters with himself, and they're talking to Andrew Bennett, the vampire, saying, "Join us," and he freaks out and shoots himself out of the crypt as Swamp Thing and Detective Chimp are there, and he explains his terror as he says he knew that wherever he ran in this world, it would spread until it consumed him. It would never stop hunting him, and for the first time in many years, Andrew Bennett prayed. So that's a pretty good way of building up a future villain. I imagine we're going to be seeing the Conjoined Man later on in the series. But nonetheless, I would say easily the worst story of the 3. So the third and final story of the Otherkind that Man-Bat tells is called The Offspring. This one's really interesting. This is easily the best in my opinion. So there's a nuclear submarine in the Arctic Circle. It sends out a distress signal. And the captain says that the ship is lost, the cargo can't be safely retrieved, and never let another living being set foot on its deck. And then the captain shoots himself. And then on the recording, it sounded like something was ripping through flesh. So they do not heed the captain's warning, and they send in a team to go investigate. And the team is Frankenstein and the Creature Commandos. Pretty cool looking team. I hope that they're actually in the series sometime in the future. I would like to learn a little bit more about them. Frankenstein in particular looks really interesting. And as they're investigating, they realize Wonder Woman is there with them. And Frankenstein being the leader, he starts sending people off on tasks, and he and Wonder Woman are going to do some investigating together. Frankenstein asks her if he's ever actually killed one of these monsters, and she says no. And he says, here's your chance, because they found this weird body that has no head that's lying there naked, and all of a sudden these things are bubbling up out of its chest and abdomen. And then it stands up, and all these little creatures start jumping out at him. They're trying to fight him off. As you can see, they're burrowing their way into Frankenstein's head and back. Really gross stuff. And Frankenstein tells Wonder Woman, get the hell out of here, because he has a chance of surviving this and she doesn't. And you can see on the final panel she escapes. So after the 3 stories in the anthology are told, we're back to Man-Bat as he's discussing, and he finds a piece of paper and he's saying, I never wrote this down, who did it? I'm not going to show any more pages after this, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a little bit of extra story on the end, so I guess technically there's 4 stories in here. If you know a little bit about the dark magic world in DC, you probably have already figured out who wrote that letter to Man-Bat, and you might even know what it says already. So overall, I'd say this is a good book. It's a recommend, probably a highly recommend that. So I'd say the art is excellent. I'll give it like a 4.5 out of 5. As far as the characters go, only 2 of them really get to do anything, and that's Wonder Woman and Zatanna. All Man-Bat does is narrate, and Swamp Thing and Detective Chimp really don't do anything at all. So I'll give the character development / characterization of the book like a 3. It's pretty average. They didn't do a whole lot with the actual Justice League Dark characters. And for a plot, I'll give it like a 3.5 out of 4. It's pretty good. It moves the story forward. You get to learn a little bit about the Otherkind. You even get to see the Upside Down Man a little bit at the end. So overall, I'll give this a solid 4 out of 5. Highly recommend. It's a good book. You should definitely check it out. So what are your thoughts on Justice League Dark? Have you enjoyed the series? Do you think it's bad? Was I way off? Was I right? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, you can always contact me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. Talk about all kinds of comics there. If you like the video, please give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel for more comic book reviews and commentary. Ring the bell for future notifications. And with that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.